Welcome back to Follow the Money. Former Governor Sarah Palin is back with us. Governor, a recent report accused D.C. politicians of wheeling and dealing with privileged information. Here's Steve Kroft's interview from 60 Minutes going after Nancy Pelosi about buying stock in Visa back when credit rules were changing and being voted on in Congress.
No, it was not. It only has appearance if you decide that you're going to have elaborate on a false premise. But it's not true, and that's that.
And what part's not true?
Yes, sir. That I would act upon an investment.
All right, Nancy Pelosi promised to drain the swamp, Governor. Instead, here's 60 Minutes raising questions about her investments. What's going on here?
First, thank you, Steve Kroft. Thank you, Peter Schweitzer, and college students who did research with Peter to write the book, Throw Them All Out, which 60 Minutes took up and did their research on, too, to prove that, yes, there is that insider trading and the pay-for-play corruption that's going on in Congress. And the Beltway's reaction to what was revealed in 60 Minutes and in Peter Schweitzer's book was so typical, where somebody like Pelosi, first they deny it, right? They lie and say, I've never traded information or anything, and yet 60 Minutes and Peter Schweitzer, they have the proof. Many of us have studied this for many years, and we have known what was going on, yet it took these very loud voices that came from these media outlets to finally kind of blow the lid off of this and show that Nancy Pelosi and others in Congress have been dealing with inside information that the general public does not be privileged with, and that's how they become rich.
Right, and very importantly, Governor, I spent 20 years on Wall Street, and I know if I had done any of the things that they're accused of doing, I would go directly, I'd be fined millions of dollars and go directly to jail, because in essence what they are is they are insider trading, but they're doing it because they're hiding under the veil of Congress. Yes, in Congress you can do it. There are instances, Governor, where people were coming out of meetings with Treasury secretaries, running to the phone and trading stocks based on what they learned in a meeting. I don't know if I can't even imagine something being more illegal except for when it applies to Congress.
I can't imagine that they're able to sleep at night very well. I always say in politics, you're either eating well or you're sleeping well. It's appalling, this action that they have partaken in, and it's legal in their little world in Congress. It's not legal for anybody else, and that's typical of Congress, exempting themselves from the laws that they hoist on everybody else. If there is one thing that unites our nation, independents, conservatives, liberals, it's a corruption that we see going on in Congress, how it is that we can fight that corruption and stop it. So thank God there is unity now in this mission that we are going to stop this corruption in Congress. And there is the Stock Act, and Sean Duffy has a bill that's being proposed, and others have bills to be proposed that will hopefully start getting a handle on this. However, the Stock Act and others that I have been researching show a lot of loopholes that still allow way too much leniency that the rest of the world wouldn't be able to be engaged in when it comes to Congress being able to still act on insider information that the rest of us don't have. That is how they come to Congress of very modest means quite often, and they leave as wealthy individuals. It's because of the access to our money and to information about our money, the taxpayers, that they get to capitalize on. It's a corrupt system.
Sure, and the Stock Act, you point this out very well. It's a step in the right direction. Governor, tell us the difference, though. You know, we see a lot of friends of, in fact, family members of Nancy Pelosi benefiting from some of the big Energy Department loans. What's the difference when the Obama administration or the Department of Energy gives a $500 million loan to a company that may have ties to another congressperson? Isn't that another form of crony socialism, crony capitalism out of D.C.?
Bingo, it absolutely is. And when you see that the majority of these green jobs stimulus package grants and loans have gone to President Obama's bundlers and his campaign contributors, that's the picture painted right there of how it works in Washington, D.C. And it is corrupt. Up here in Alaska, same thing was going on with big oil companies. Some of us had to get in there and fight as hard as we could against that corruption. You just about get run out of town by the bigwigs in your state or in our nation when when you fight even your own political party against the corruption, but you do what you have to do that is right for the people. So that's why I engaged in getting rid of the crony capitalism and the corruption. We need that now on a national front, and we're going to see it. We are going to see more and more people understanding the corruption in Congress, doing something about it. Schweitzer says it best in the title of his book, Throw Them All Out. That's the bottom line. They have had opportunity, Eric, they have had opportunity to clean this up, and they haven't. From Pelosi on down, these leaders on down, they have not cleaned up the problem, and the rest of us are sick of it, and we're going to do something about it.
All right, Governor, last topic, last thought here before Mr. Obama goes on his 17-day Hawaiian vacation. He delivered, right before yesterday, he delivered the fair speech, the fairness. Governor, life isn't fair. It's probably not fair that he's going to spend 17 days in Hawaii when 14 million or 14.5 million Americans are out of work. Any advice to the president about the optics of this trip?
You know, by the way, in that speech, too, what occurred to me was, is it fair that his kids get to benefit from a very elite, expensive private school, and yet he can't support school choice with vouchers or other systems to allow poor children to benefit from an elite school? Yeah, the optics of this trip, they are so deaf, dumb, and blind coming out of the White House to consider that people aren't going to be ticked off about a 17-day vacation, luxury vacation in Hawaii, when, you know, a lot of the rest of the country, people are just looking at holding on to their job or their home or being able to pay their rent, and the optics are really bad. But I'll bet you, Eric, he doesn't stay there 17 days. I think he throws that number out there just to tick people off so that when he ratchets it back and he comes back after day 15 because of some issue that has to be addressed, then he's looked at, in his own eyes, I believe, as a hero. He sacrificed some of that shared sacrifice. He cut his Hawaiian vacation short to come deal with an issue in the White House. I guarantee you that will happen.
All right, Governor, it's a pleasure having you on. You're a fresh voice, and love having you on.
Thank you. And again, with that speech yesterday, seemed very, very hopeless, and yet at the same time refreshingly clarifying for America to understand what Barack Obama and the left believes in versus free men and free markets, and what we can do as a country when we grasp again American exceptionalism. So thank you, Eric.
Governor, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to Todd and the rest of the family. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.